Hello, welcome to Fibertown episode 170. It's the 27th of October. I'm writing the date right now on my show notes. And hello, I did not expect to be able to record today, but here I am, a client canceled. So I'm able to take about 40 minutes and sit down and show everybody what I've been working on. And yay, so let's do that. If you are new, welcome. And if you're coming back, I'm so glad you did. My name is Emily, and I am Chain of Fools on Ravelry and Fibertown with an RE on Instagram. And yeah, it's been very busy since I got back from our trip to Rhinebeck. And thank you guys for all your likes on that episode. And so many people watched that episode. That was really wonderful. I'm talking on YouTube. You can watch this podcast on iTunes as well. It's a little harder to figure out how many people watch it there. But yeah, so thank you for subscribing. I do have a lot of new subscribers as well. Thank you for leaving comments. I love to hear from you guys. Okay, just a few things before we do FOs, works in progress, spinning, sewing, acquisitions, and I think a Fibertown on the road as well. I'm very excited. I have two of those in the can, so to speak, and I will put them out in the order that they came in. So I'll talk more about that later. But the first thing I want to talk about is the Tinctoria cowl, which was a kit I did with Kimberly from Teasel, Shop Teasel. And if you guys have bought the kit with the Amazing Alice swag in the bag and all that good stuff, you know that yarn is amazing. And our agreement was that I would release the pattern as a single pattern on Ravelry. Ooh, goodness. And we have insane glare. What is up? Okay, sorry. That's a picture of the cowl. It's like in my bedroom. I wore it to Rhinebeck. I could show you, but I'd have to pause this. Let's see if this helps at all. Yay, there we go. That's the cowl. So that cowl pattern is available on Ravelry, but I think Kimberly, for an individual download, I think Kimberly has a few more kits if you would like to take a look. And she also has the yarn, I believe, without the rest of the swag for purchase. So, and I just wanted to say thank you to Kimberly. I haven't told you guys yet, but she put back a lovely portion of, what she earned on that kit back into the podcast as a donation. Because, as she said, it's all about community. So she's amazing, and her stuff is amazing, and it's not just yarn. She has hand towels that I cherish that are embroidered, and they're very special fabric, and I have a pin cushion that she's made, and now I have the bag, and she makes amazing bags. So check out Shop Teasel. Okay, so October is the Magic Along, and the prize for that is this, my very favorite issue of Pom Pom. Best one ever. So I will close that up in a few days because it's the 27th today? Yeah. So get your stuff in. I love what you guys have shown so far on that thread. And I'm thinking about doing the November and December threads together. And I haven't picked the word yet. I have several ideas. But it's either going to, maybe I'll do a poll for the end of the year word. My ideas were comfort, ease, kindness, nesting. So perhaps I'll put a poll up in the Rav group, Fiberspace Town podcast. And yeah, I love polls. They're so awesome. Yes, and then the last thing I want to talk about before I show you my FOs is the FleeceWise prize. And this is only prize number 1. I have some very special prizes coming in the mail from Ross Farm. So there will be several very special prizes for people who are participating in FleeceWise, parts 1 and 2. And there's an all-in-one thread on the Rav group. So just put your questions and your comments and your projects. If you're doing a fleece project, we want to know about it. We want to see it. We want to hear about it. I want to hear about your fleece shopping experiences. Just go crazy. Enter as much as you want. Because, as you know, the community is where we get our inspiration and our knowledge. All right, are you guys ready to talk about finished objects? I have one. I have a knitted finished object. And I picked it up off of my daughter's bedroom floor. And this is her flax cardigan. She's worn it a bunch already. Probably needs a wash. This is out of Barocco Remix, and I think I knit the smallest adult size. She's like 5'2". She's almost 14. And this fits her quite well, and I can't wait to see how it behaves when it washes up. Everyone says it washes up gorgeously. So I think I've made 6 sweaters this year. This is either number 6 or number 7. And I would use this yarn again. It's acrylic. It's all recycled materials. Acrylic, linen, silk, cotton. I think that's it. And my other FO is something that was left on my loom. I had some fiber left on my loom, and I was curious. It's not a scarf length. I made this mohair acrylic blend that someone had given me. I said, I do not want to knit that, but let's see how it weaves up. And you guys, it's kind of amazing. It hasn't been finished. In fact, I still have like a header here, and the ends haven't been dealt with, but I think it's almost diaphanous. There it is as a single layer. So I don't know, would this be cool seamed as a cowl with all this stuff chopped off? I think it might be. I'm wearing another hand woven project here. I love weaving a wool silk blend. It drapes beautifully. But yeah, this was acrylic mohair, kind of fun. So yeah, I might treat that as fabric and sew it up somehow using a gigantic zigzag stitch. But again, it's no loss if it has to be trashed. It was just leftovers. All right. Oh, there is another finished object here that is not my own. Where did it go? Here it is. My husband finished another thing, and he is the Spaniard on Ravelry. If you would like to friend him, he doesn't have very many friends. Look at that cuteness. He is on the looser side tension-wise, but he made a baby hat for a colleague for the baby shower in his department. And this is a lollipop yarn left over from a pair of socks I knit, and these are the colors of the Washington, D.C. Metro lines. So I think he knitted on US 3s, and of course the brim was just a gray that I had in my mini stash, mini skeins. It was a little baby hat. I think it was cast on 100 stitches on US 3s. And then instead of decreasing every other round, it was decreasing every round. That's that. All right, so works in progress. I had one of those strange moments where all of a sudden I really didn't have projects going. So everything I'm going to show you is brand new, and I'm going to start with this. This is the bag Lori made me, Intuit Knit, whose podcast is on a bit of a hiatus right now, I think. So I hope we get to see her back soon. I cast on this yarn a pair of No Purl Monkey socks. And this is, I love this pattern. There we go. These are for my mother-in-law. In fact, she picked out the yarn. And I've started the heel flap. I'm knitting these on my Knit Pro Zings, US 1.5, 2.5 millimeters. The light is not really doing it justice. This is a little bit more true. Look at the greens in there. How fun is that? And now I'm very strangely colored. And now I'm also very strangely, anyway. I just love these. So what is this yarn, you might be wondering? And, oh, here it is. This is Socktopus. This was a gift from my lovely friend Kate. She destashed a lot of yarn to me a few years ago. And this is Sokusu. Colorway is Lorelei. Socktopus, Sokusu, Lorelei. Now it's all fingering merino. So my mother-in-law she's she's almost 80, and you know, hopefully she won't give these too much hard wear. She is a really great sock recipient. She treasures hand knit socks. So these knit up pretty fast, and yeah, loving the zings. Super fun. I got them from the Woolly Thistle. You'll see other things I got from the Woolly Thistle today. All right. So what else do we have? I cast on and I'm storing it in my Shop Teasel Alice bag. I cast on the Lovage sweater. Now, I'm knitting the body out of Blacker Manx with mohair, Blacker blends, and this is a very, how shall I describe this yarn? It's tricky, not tricky. Oh gosh, it disguises itself in the ball as this kind of crunchy. There's a strange shine to it. You're like, It's one of these. Okay, it transforms when you knit it. That's what I wanted to say. So I have these also from the Woolly Thistle, and the reason I know about this yarn is that when I did the blanket squares for Swensti and put together the blanket that folks knit for her, someone had knit a square out of this yarn in white, and it was divine. So the Lovage is by Marie Wallen, and it's a colorwork yoke. So I bought the pattern, and I started to look at the gauge and just the ins and outs of how the pattern is made. And folks, the gauge is 30 stitches, well, okay, 7.5 stitches per inch on a US, on a 2.75 millimeter, which is somewhere between a 1.5 and a 2. It's a 2-ish. So yeah, a 2. I think it's a 2. US 2. That's practically sock gauge. Also, the sweater has a ton of positive ease. It has some shaping, but a lot of positive ease. So my gauge is way different. And it's a bottom-up sweater, so it's not as if you can try it on and as you go. And there's also a good amount of ribbing at the bottom. So I thought, okay, maybe I can make a different size. And so I looked at the small, and then there's a medium/large, and then there's a large or an XL. So the sizing is, I guess because of the colorwork yoke, there's so many charts involved, you really can't, I guess grading that pattern was very tricky. And since there's a lot of positive ease, then it could fit for both a medium and a large. So my gauge was, I was too big gauge-wise, which is usually the opposite for me. Usually I'm too tight of a knitter. But instead of 30 stitches for 4 inches, I was getting 25. So way off. So I looked at maybe making the small and then hopefully making the medium for the yoke, but no, I don't think that's going to work either. There's a stitch difference of like 40 stitches between the small and the medium. So I decided I'm going to make this small, but just in case it all goes horribly wrong, I decided to do a provisional cast on and just start with a stockinette stitch rather than do all of that 1x1 ribbing. In fingering weight yarn on a US 2, you know, that would boggle my mind. This way, if it all works out, I can rip out the provisional cast on and knit the ribbing down. But here we go. So I think it's going to fit. I don't know how well it's going to fit, but yeah, I'm monkeying around with this pattern quite a bit because I don't know if it's typical for fingering weight sweaters, or sorry, not fingering weight, for Fair Isle sweaters to have such a dense gauge. You know, especially since you have double the fabric up top. But, you know, if you've designed a knitting pattern, you know that you can run into problems with how different your gauge is versus other knitters. So maybe this was a question of that. I don't know. but I am taking some risks here. But I ain't knitting all that ribbon. Sorry, I have some lentil soup, and I just need to turn it down. There we go. We are in my kitchen after all, and it's a gray, chilly day, so I have lentil soup going. Alrighty. So you've seen the socks in the lovage. This was my swatch for the lovage sweater. Isn't that a professional swatch? No, I cheat with my swatches. They're way too small. But this is dense enough. This is 25 stitches per inch. Now I was thinking, oh, maybe I'll knit it out of my yogurt yarn that I spun and dyed. Yogurt is a fleece I had. And while it's lovely, it's much more of a DK. It would never, ever, ever work for the lovage without me having to completely redo all the charts. So I'm also working on a shawl project as of last night. And you might recall that I designed this and worked on this shawl out of Ross Farm Leicester Longwool Lamb this summer. Boop. This is Angela. And it's a crescent-shaped shawl with garter and stockinette and a little bit of quilted lattice down here. And I just adore this shawl. So I'm knitting another version. I don't have any more of the Angela. But yeah, it's a really, really beautiful shawl. I'm tweaking it a bit for shape and size. And then hopefully sometime in the next few months, you'll see a new shawl from me. Yay! So that is on the needles. That's all I'm going to say about that. I'm not going to show it. So let's talk about spinning. I finished another skein of Lincoln. And you might remember the Lincoln I spun for socks was full of energy. And I should not have spun it. Well, I spun it on a large ratio, so it got a lot of extra twist in it. It was, not feeding onto the wheel fast, so it would stay in the drafting zone and get extra twist. So this one I did the other way. This is a traditional 3-ply, and I spun and plied on a very small ratio. There we go. This is a fingering to sport weight. 140 yards. I can't wait to knit with it and see what it's like. It's just a beautiful color. Lincoln. I almost said Gotland because that's sitting here right in front of me. Let me show you that. On my new spindle from Golding, I have some lovely Gotland that I combed just to play around with. There's a little nestling, 2 of them. So this is spinning amazingly, and I actually am really looking forward to digging into that fleece. It's back in the lineup. I'm not sure when it'll happen now that Eloise, the Shetland, is in the house, and other fleeces too. For a little bit of color, we have Hobbledehoy. These are just little cops. This is off a supported spindle, and these 2 from drop spindles. And these all came in the same battling pack from Hobbledehoy. Just love her stuff. Especially this one makes me super happy. And then the rest is fleece prep with Eloise, which is the Fleecewise fleece. So she is a Shetland, and she has a great variety of staples within her fleece. And in fact, I saved a little baggie with examples. I'll have to bring that another time. Oh, you guys. I took the crimpier locks, and I drum carded this. So sheepy. I gave it just one wash and just sort of got the dirt out. I didn't worry about getting all the grease out, or even all the dirt really. But it got a wash and a rinse, and here we go. Now this has a little bit of Kemp in it from my North Ronaldsy carding. I could not get out of my drum carder. That's okay. So nice and bouncy. And then this one was also bouncy locks. And I think the way I'm preparing them is I'm just separating out the lock types. This one is a little more tightly wound. These have only been through the drum carder once. I like being able to see a little bit of the crimp still retained. Just beautiful. Beautiful fawn in light gray in places. And it was impossible, unfortunately, to see if Eloise had a certain patterning to her fleece because of the way the fleece had been rolled up. Or possibly it had been unrolled by a judge and not properly put back together. Anyway, because Shetlands do sometimes have special patterns in their fleeces. But beautiful colors. Those are some gray locks that I just made poonies out of. Roll-logs, really. This one is a mess. But yeah, there was some gray as well, and so the darker gray I took, and I'll probably spindle these and put them in my blanket. So that's about, I don't know, maybe almost half. That's about half of what I have from Eloise that's been processed. Very exciting. So let me have a drink, and I will tell you what else is going on. I am getting ready to do a very nice sewing project. Very excited. So I've had this pattern for a while. This is the Colette Dahlia dress. Yeah, I'm gonna make a wool dress. Doesn't that sound chic? So this is some wool I purchased half price. It's beautifully woven. And I think this would definitely require lining. And I don't have playroom with the amount I have because it was basically a remnant. That's why I was able to get it for such a good price. So what I have also is fabric to make a wearable, well, just a practice run, but it's going to be this. I know. I have some pattern pieces pinned to it already just to see if I had enough. So I do, and today I got some lining. Because I'm finding I like to wear leggings under skirts, but dresses and leggings, the skirt doesn't swing. It does not swing. So you either have to wear a slip or line your dress. So I got this amazing olive rayon. It's just a rayon. I don't know if it's called a Bemberg. That's one I've been looking at online. But I got this at Joann's with coupons. And I will at least line the skirt. Possibly just the skirt on the practice go, because that wool is pretty soft. And then I can get a feel for how to do the lining, and then the second dress I can line the whole thing, bodice included. So I'm very excited. Yeah, version 1 is suitable for wool crepe, wool suiting. And then this one is more of a summery dress. So yeah, look, raglan sleeves. So I plan to wear this with boots. Should be very grown up. All right. Yeah, I think I might start cutting that out today. We'll see. Now, I made an acquisition because it was my birthday month. And sadly, my birthday month is almost over. So I will have to stop pretending that I can make purchases because it's my birthday month. All right, so the woolly thistle has a limited amount. Well, I guess this is one of the rarer breeds in the world. And Soe and Borere. I talked a bit about Soe. And in fact, on Claire's podcast, New Hampshire Knits, you can hear me talking to the shepherd because I didn't know that Claire was recording, but she recorded the whole breed talk with the Soe shepherd. So, I really wanted this yarn. St. Kilda. It's a limited edition lace weight yarn. It's got Soe and Borare from the St. Kilda archipelago in the Orkneys, I think. It's the Orkneys? Yeah, I think. Hebrides? Something like that. Something above Scotland. Yes, so this is the natural color. It's called Isle of Doon. And it's 760 yards per skein. Very, very special yarn. And they put some Shetland in there as well. Is the Soe and Borare. I want to make myself a cardigan. I think I want to design it with a lace back, probably raglan sleeves. I don't know. But I think I want to knit it all in the round and steek it. Because knitting a lace weight cardigan and purling back would take a crazy long time. And this is just such a useful color, and I think I'd want to wear it all the time. Now Claire also sent, because she's lovely, she sent a nice yardage of, this is maybe 1.5, 2 yards, of some of her great, amazing grosgrain ribbon. Elephants. So love that. Guys, I think that's all. If I put a Fibertown in the road in here, Fibertown on the road in here, I will do a separate little introduction, and I hope you guys enjoy. So until next time, take care. Hi. So I finally had the chance to look at one of the Fibertown on the road videos that I have ready to go. And I am so thrilled to be able to share this with you guys. This is Regin Tyrell. And she is Mosaic Madness on Ravelry. And I don't know if she's on Instagram, but you guys are going to get such a kick out of her. She's funny and charming and very accomplished in her crafting. So just a few highlights for what you're going to see. She's on location in Bemidji, Minnesota, I believe. And she'll talk more about that. But she shows us her Fibercraft studio, as well as her Mosaic craft studio, which is an amazing building with an amazing view. And we get to see some of the fall colors in Minnesota. She knits, she spins, she shares her spinning story and shows us a lot of things in her craft room and what she's working on. And one of the highlights is a vintage Intarsia sweater. I highly recommend that you view just for that. That's really awesome. And I feel like I just wish she were a neighbor. She seems like a lot of fun. So this is why I'm so glad to do Fibertown on the road, because it's nice to get a view into other crafters' crafty lives and, you know, to open our eyes to what else is going on in the crafty world. So thank you so much, Regin, for sharing this video. You did an amazing job. And yeah, without any more talking, here's Regin.
Hello, my name is Regin Tyrell, and I am Mosaic Madness on Ravelry. And I live in Bemidji, Minnesota, 6 months a year, and Texas, near Austin, Georgetown, Texas, the other half of the year. I cannot believe I'm doing this. This is probably the 10th time that I've tried this, and I know what the key is. The key is don't rewatch it unless it goes horribly wrong. And then don't rewatch it, just put it in the trash can. But I am going to see if this works this time and hopefully just send it in, and we'll see. I commend Emily, I commend you and other podcasters for doing this, because this is not easy. This is difficult. But anyway, I have been knitting forever. I've always sold things. I remember being 8 or 9 years old, somewhere in there, in the 50s, going door to door selling loom potholders to people, 1 for 15 cents, 2 for a quarter. And I had neighborhood children working for me, and they made a nickel a sale. And I did this by myself. I really can't imagine in this day and age doing that in Chicago, having your child go out there and sell things door to door, anywhere, anywhere. So yeah, that was crazy, but it was a different time. In college, I made braided belts and purses. And in the 70s and 80s, I made all of my children's clothes, most of my clothes. I did a lot of knitting. And then after that, I sold little macrame bracelets with children's names in them at craft shows for years to supplement a teaching salary. I did that for many years, actually. And now I mostly do knits for my own pleasure and for gifts and for family. I sell a few things in a shop near here near Bemidji, but mostly I'm knitting for just myself. I'm selling. No, I'm not giving up. No. Okay. So anyway, I am going to show you a few of the things I'm knitting now. Okay, I have a game that I play, and it's crazy. I have 18 things on the needles right now, and I know that's crazy. But what I do is every time I sit down to watch a TV show or watch a movie or go in the car, I randomly pick a project bag, and that's what I make during that time. The advantage is you're never bored. I mean, you really are always doing something different. The disadvantage, of course, is that you never finish anything. It takes a while to finish something, but I do finish things. I actually have completed projects. I just finished Stephen West's Exploration Station, and it's called Don't Look at the Brioche. See, don't look at it, because it's horrible. It was the first time I did brioche, and it's a steep learning curve. And by the time I could read what I was supposed to be doing, what it was supposed to be looking like, I was too far in, and I didn't want to rip it back. So I'm just leaving it, and it is what it is. And I've actually worn it, so it's wearable, but don't look at the brioche. So there's that. I also do a lot. I've been doing a lot with scraps. So there's 18 things on the needles, but 8 of them are socks. 4 pairs. I do them 2 at a time, and I'm making socks that are out of scraps. So this is 3 different scraps of yarn, and they match. They actually match, which is kind of fun. So those go actually fairly quickly. I am also making, see, this is when it goes all terribly wrong because I'm so disorganized. But I'm going to keep going because I am. I'm making a cardigan. See, that's upside down. I'm making a cardigan called Nested out of fingering weight yarn. That's the back. And I think I'm going to like it a lot because it's going to be lightweight and loose and drapey, and I love that pattern on the back. So that's nested. And I'm only going to show you one more thing because 18 things are crazy. This is the little chickadee baby sweater. It's almost done. I just have to do the sleeves and the edging, and it just came off the needle, but that's okay. I can fix it. My daughter's best friend just had a little baby girl, so she is getting that, and I will finish that. I might devote myself to that. The other thing I'm making that kind of destroyed my little game because I was addicted to it is a scrap blanket, and it's big. See there? It's got a lot to it. And I couldn't stop. I think it's my love of mosaics that putting colors together, as I put glass together, I couldn't stop. I couldn't stop planning the next square. So then my game changed to I got to do a square every other time. That's okay. It's my game. I can change the rules. The other thing that I want to show you, and then I'm going to have my husband help me tape, and we're going to look at the fiber, I call it Fiberland downstairs. I do spin also, so there's actually 19 things I could do when I sit down because there's always spinning. And I'll talk about how I got started in spinning, which is an interesting story. But I wanted to show you an old project. And this is a sweater that I made probably in the early 70s. And I have no idea why I made it. I don't believe I ever wore it. It looks so brand new that I can't imagine wearing this. But this is it. It's so ridiculous. It's a whole zebra. See, there's his leg even. And guess what? There's more. This is the back. So that's the rest of him and his tail. Yeah. Don't you want one? It's so ridiculous, I have to keep it forever. And obviously I didn't understand about weaving in ends because there they are. They're all there. Yeah. So that's my craziness old sweater that will stay in its drawer forever. And maybe my daughter will, maybe there'll be an ugly sweater contest that she'll win someday. Who knows? I should give it to her. So I'm going to stop this and then do 2 more little segments. I'm going to go downstairs with the fiber and show you how I've organized things and show you the mitten factory and employee of 1. And I'm going to show you the Mosaic studio just a little bit. So I'm not going to look at this. We'll see. Okay, so this is Fiberland downstairs in our house here. I have kind of taken over this huge room with all of my other crafts, and this guy. Wait, you missed him. The sheep. Joanna Spring of Knitspin Farm graciously allowed me to mosaic a couple of her photographs of her animals. And this sheep is living here right now because obviously she needs to be here, doesn't she? So this is yarn sorted by type, and then the second to bottom part is all fiber for spinning and still some yarn. There's a lot of different crafts up above, that old things that I've made and things over the years, many other kinds of crafts. And then the bottom is, there's a store in town, a family business that has been in, I think it's been in the family for almost 100 years. And it's called the Bemidji Woolen Mill. And they make beautiful Fair Isle sweaters and have for many, many years. And they used to sell scraps for wasn't it $0.25 a pound? It was $0.25 a pound, and I would buy huge scraps like this, and I would fill up the trunk for like $2, and it was incredible. So I would go and I would just buy whatever I could because these patterns were absolutely amazing, and there was nothing wrong with them. Maybe a seam was wrong or something, or they cut it wrong. So I bought a lot of them. All the tubs on the bottom are scraps of knits, and I started making mittens. And I have them in a store, and then this is just extra, and I'm going to put them up at the studio cruise. But so I make big old mittens, and this is the mitten factory. This is what happens when at 4 in the morning when I can't sleep, is I'm down here in the mitten factory. So the yarn is mostly fingering weight, but a lot of washable yarn, because I make these little caps that are baby caps, and those are in a store in a town near here. I also spin, and my spinning story is, I'm going to tell the story on you. Charlie is manning the camera. Say hello.
Hello.
He was this is an interesting story. So he and my son did the Camino de Santiago across Spain, from the Pyrenees across the top of Spain, 500-mile pilgrimage, 3 years ago, right? 3 years ago. And I mean, that's incredible. And he has many stories, but this is a knitting show. So, it was an incredible adventure and an incredible accomplishment for him and my son, but especially him, because my son's young. And so anyway, while he was gone, I was knitting in our yarn store that unfortunately has closed. But the owner said, "Does anybody want any free llama fleece?" And I said, "Sure," because how do you say no to that? You can't. I mean, somebody says free llama fleece. Well, I didn't spin at the time. I had no idea how to spin. I didn't know what I was going to do with that, but I knew that I kind of wanted to learn to spin because I had friends that were spinning. So I went out to this farm and I came home with 3 fleeces, 3 big bags of fleece, dirty fleece, from Spirit and Simon and Wamba, mother, father, and baby. And I walked them around and they were so cute. And so then I thought, okay, what am I going to do with this? And I sent it to a processing mill, or whatever they're called. And I knew enough to have some merino put in the roving, and then I bought the Kromsky wheel, which is right here, and didn't like it. I bought it used, and since then have bought 2 other wheels, a Lindrum and a Ladybug. But I started on this single treadle, and anyway, these fleeces, this roving from these 3 fleeces have been sitting here for 3 years, and I tried this year to spin Spirit, the mom, and it's so delicate, and it's so, I don't know if llama is going to be my thing. And the farmer called this year, and Charlie and I both went out and got 3 more fleeces from Spirit and Simon and Wamba and walked them around, and they were delightful. And I really want to be able to go from llama to sweater or to something. And I don't know if I'm going to be able. I did a little spinning of this one, and it's kind of coarse, and I'm not sure. I'm going to keep trying because I have so much of this, and then I have 3 more huge garbage bags full of this year's. So what do I do? Anyway, that's a dilemma. But I do spin other things since then. This is some of it that I have here in Texas, or wherever we are. I think we're in Minnesota. I don't even know what month it is, let alone what state I'm in. The problem is I never knit with this, and that's kind of sad. This is early, but I mean, it's not bad yarn. This I saved. It says number 1 because it was my first. It was my first spinning. Isn't it horrible? But I got better. This looks like yarn. I mean, they look like yarn, but I just don't. And then I did some dyeing, which I really like dyeing. So I will eventually use this, but it's like giving up your baby, I guess, because it's just fun to look at, and I'm not quite ready to spin it yet. I mean, to knit with it yet. So that's fiber, not land, not town, land, and that's some of the things I do.
Okay.
Okay, we are walking to the Mosaic studio right now, and you see, if you pan over there, my husband is helping me. If you pan, you'll see how beautiful the trees are, but they have lost a lot of their leaves in the last week. But it is gorgeous. So we are heading this way. To the studio. And We had this built when we first moved here. We retired 7 years ago and had this studio built. I've been doing mosaics for about 19 years, and I was extremely fortunate to get myself a studio with a view. Show the view, Charlie. Isn't it cool? Yeah, I have a view, Big Turtle Lake. So this is where I work. It's called Tumble Glass Studio because I tumble all the glass in rock tumblers for, those are some photographs of things I've done. So the glass, all of these little drawers here are all glass by color, and it's all been tumbled. So it's all stained glass that's it softens the edges so that they're not sharp anymore. I still cut them to size because I'm pretty anal about things fitting exactly. But right now I'm getting ready for a thing that our county does called the Studio Cruise. And I think it's about 31 or 32 artists open their studios for 3 days. It's in 2 weeks, so it's coming up. And I will be demonstrating mosaics all day for 3 days to people that come. And I haven't done the Studio Cruise since 2011 or 12. And last time I did it, we had 500 people. So I decided to start a huge project, which is this, so that I can be working on something that is big. So it's got sunflowers starting here, and then they're going to get smaller and smaller and smaller, and strips of farmland, a little farmhouse up on top of the hill, and I just did the windmill, which I'm in love with that little windmill. And so this whole bottom third or half of this picture frame, which is enormous, will be all sunflowers, gradually getting smaller into farmland. But we'll see. I may never finish this, but it'll be something to demonstrate mosaics with for those 3 days, and who knows, I may someday finish it. I love these Mexican hand-carved frames. This is my third one of these. I don't have the others here, but anyway, and then I just finished this commission. She wanted a yellow lab, so that's a Lazy Susan. And then there's pieces over here that need grouting. I forget the name of this bird, but it's a stick-legged, red-legged something. I need to look up the name of that bird. There's a VW bus, which was fun to do from my hippie days, and some songbirds. And then on the wall, there's a blue heron from a photograph that we took at the Gulf Shore, and that's in Barnwood, which I also collect frames. I collect barnwood, and Charlie, who's manning the camera, makes me frames, which is great. So that's the studio, and I have saws and grinders and tools, and when I'm not knitting, I'm in here doing mosaics, and I love it.